One of the brand new transforming characters in Sonic vs Speed Battle is none other than Super Shadow. Making his first playable appearance since Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing over 12 years later, Super Shadow functions like the other super characters in Speed Battle by needing rings to transform and get an invincible boost of speed until your rings drop to a certain amount. However, this is a post-patch super form which has been absolutely crushed by the nerfs to the super form. Instead of 50 rings to transform, you'll need 80 rings to transform, and the super form only lasts until you hit 15 rings instead of 0. Combined with aggressive and anti-power-up characters such as Mephiles and Movie Knuckles, getting Shadow's super form can be a hit or miss scenario at times. As for Shadow's stats, he retains the same stats as his base form, which are considerably strong and, well, nothing to write home about. He also retains his Thunder and Lightning Bolt power-ups from his base form. The problem with these power-ups, however, is that they are very reliant on upgrades in order to be as efficient online as you want them to be. The Lightning Bolt is really slow unless you have 2 of them to apply pressure onto enemy runners, and the Thunderbolt does passable damage and destroys a power-up. However, should you panic, you also end up destroying your Chaos Emerald power-up and delaying your super form transformation. Also, Shadow's super form is the first super form transformation in the game to have its own unique theme song, whilst Super Sonic and Movie Super Sonic have the generic fist bump instrumental. Overall, Super Shadow has a great amount of potential to wipe out the competition, but it is incredibly situational. For example, you could end up on a small track with no time to gather rings to transform. Alternatively, the competition can be extremely aggressive and repeatedly keep your ring count down to prevent the transformation. I could go on, but there are a lot of factors that rely on the player, the opponents, and the scenario that they're in to make it so Super Shadow is a very hit or miss character, but still passable in his own right. With that being said, let's begin our grading. Super Shadow's viability grade is going to be a solid 6 out of 10. You won't lose every single game you find yourself playing, but again, he's really situational and thus you can't be guaranteed to perform well with him. But as for Super Shadow's power grade, it's going to be on the lower end at a solid 4 out of 10. Although his kit is the same, Super Shadow will usually hang around the back of the pack to farm rings and transform. But Shadow's base form kit highly benefits from being in first place and using his Storm and Thunderbolts to keep everyone behind him pressured to stay there. So this kind of conflicts with each other, as at the same time you want to be back collecting rings, but Shadow's power-ups benefits from being in the front, and it causes a bit of a mesh that can really mess up your playstyle. And lastly, Super Shadow's value grade is a decent 7 out of 10. Super form events usually don't return in speed battles, so if you decide to farm Super Shadow, you aren't going to be wasting your time, as he's likely to become a rarer character in the next few months. That is, provided he doesn't return for a while, however. But overall, I'm going to give Super Shadow a solid 7 out of 10 as a character in speed battle. It's nice we have Super Shadow after so long of not having him, but I feel like his super form conditions are just too situational for him to be considered a top tier character. That being said, Super Shadow is still a good character, but he's nowhere near the tier of Mephiles and Movie Knuckles. But he's overall a solid addition to the cast of Sonic vs Speed Battle, and I recommend that if you ever get the chance to, pick him up. He's a decent character, but yeah, he could be better.